This episode of the SlooPcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. The Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say, our seasoning will take your barbecue from good to great. Great seasons such as the Brits Blend, the Cajun, Savory, and the Discord. Can't go wrong with any of those great seasonings over at the MadCanadianBBQ.com. That is the MadCanadianBBQ.com. Now, before I go on any further, I got a special note from the Mad Canadian himself. He says here, thank you and apologize at the same time. Your overwhelming support paired with an alarming unavailability. Stay tuned to the Mad Canadian social media pages for updates about when their shop is going to be reopening back. So because of the enormous amount of support to his website.
Yeah, go SlooPcats. Go SlooPcats.
You cleaned house here. So he's hoping to have everything possibly up by the middle of next week. So just stay tuned, sit tight, and the Mad Canadian will hopefully get everything back up and running by the middle of next week. When that does happen, be sure to use the promo.
He does say it's entirely possible. So I think middle next week, I think, is a goal more than a promise. Just to clarify that.
Yep. And when he is back in stock, be sure to use the promo code SloopCast10. That's SloopCast10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Also, he wants us to let you know that Wednesday night, they'll be having his food truck parked outside the Cary Brewing Station in Cary, Ohio from 4 to 9 p.m. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
This episode of the SlooPcast also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. Iron Bean Coffee Company is also currently smashed. They are having it's Christmas season and people are online shopping because they have to, and you know what, you should be too. There are so many great coffees to pick from, both at ironbeancoffee.com, but also just in like the wide world. So why Iron Bean Coffee? You want to go with Iron Bean Coffee because all of their beans are fair trade certified. A lot of coffee that you may or may not be drinking has ugly roots, just in the supply chain and the farming chain and everything else. But if you're buying coffee from Iron Bean Coffee, then you will absolutely know that your beans are coming fair trade certified, which means that they are beans with integrity. On top of that, they are USDA organic beans. Again, this is all on the up and up. This is about as good as you can do coffee wise. It's not roasted until you order it, so you know that the beans you're getting are fresh. And if you aren't a coffee snob, but you have a coffee snob in your life who you would like to gift Iron Bean Coffee to, then you can get them a gift card. And you can browse all the other amazing coffees at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. What's up, YouTube?
Yo. You ready for some football this weekend?
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't football's all of it's dumb right now, Kyle?
2020's dumb.
It's all very. I watched the Steelers and the Ravens play a game that was actually scheduled a week ago. Just got done doing that not too long ago. Mm-hmm. Because 2020.
Ridiculous.
You know who made an appearance in that game? Trace McSorley.
Oh my goodness. Let's get into the show, Jared.
Trace McSorley, first pass, a short out pattern, spiked it right into the ground. It might be 2020, but some things never change. All right, that's enough of that. Let's rejoin our audio listeners. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the SlooPcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing all right, Jared. How are you this December day?
Better than you. Better than you. Yeah.
Allergies are kicking me right now. Allergies are kicking me.
Kyle is going to do his absolute best to keep all of his nasally, nose blowy stuff off the mic as he can, but he is an imperfect human being, so forgive us. If any sneezes, if any emergency nose blows or anything else has to happen during the course of this show.
I will try my best.
That's all we can ask.
Did try their best. Morehead State.
Good job, Morehead State.
We just got done watching Ohio State. Just had a great second half against Morehead State to win 77-44.
You know, Kyle, it's not too often I have to pull out the second TV mid-afternoon on a Wednesday, but a little bit of NFL action and a little bit of Morehead State action, you know. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to pull out the second TV on a Wednesday.
Both Buckeyes, men's and women's, taking care of business today.
Yes. I don't have that number in front of me, but the Ohio State women had a blowout game today as well.
They did. They play Kent State.
Yeah. Do you have that score?
The men let up late. I can't talk. The men let up less points than the women did. But the women scored more than the men's did. The women won 103-47.
Sorry, what?
103-47.
That's an NBA score mixed with a college score.
Yes, that is. All right. Let's see. What other news? College
football playoff rankings are out, and some people were upset about some of the things that were said by some of the people, and I am here to tell you that I did not watch.
And that person still has you blocked.
I assume Herb Street said some shit.
He said some stuff about, well, Michigan's going to cancel a game and it's going to happen and this and that, and then he apologized for it afterwards, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," and it's a bunch of just he got carried away and he got crap for it, and he went on Twitter and apologized.
I wouldn't know.
I know you wouldn't.
I wouldn't know.
Which is why I'm telling you now. Yeah.
Let's see.
I think college football
if memory
college
serves,
football playoff rankings. No real changes there. So.
Yeah. By the way, one of the most evergreen thing about Ohio State fans, and I think Kyle and I are guilty of this as well. So please acknowledge that I'm also pointing the finger at us. This isn't me talking down to anyone. One of the most evergreen things that Ohio State fans will do is, I don't know, go on their podcast, for example, and talk about how it might be difficult for Ohio State to make the playoffs simply because they have not played that many games. And is it fair to compare them to, say, Texas A&M or some of these other really good one-loss teams like Florida when Ohio State has not played nearly as many games? And I think that's a valid point to be asking, because we were asking on the last episode, on the Monday episode, hey, is it possible, does Ohio State still have a path to the college football playoff? That's a question we were asking. And I think those are all legitimate questions. However, when a national person asks those same questions, we get real pissy. Like, those are conversations for Ohio State fans to have with Ohio State fans. We don't want to hear it from the national people. It's sort of like, I'm allowed to talk crap about my family, but you aren't. It's one of those things.
So one of the other arguments that was going around last night and this morning too was about, like, oh, why is Ohio State 4? Texas A&M and Florida should be higher. They played. Like, okay, Ohio State, yep. Outside of the Indiana game, it doesn't look all that impressive of a record.
Sure. It's not.
But look at Clemson. Who have they beaten?
Their
one team.
With their,
that's Miami.
I was about to say their best quality win right now is Miami.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also just played a lot more games, and that does count for something, right?
Yeah, and that's why they're ahead of Ohio State.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And then Florida, if we look at Florida, their best win, Georgia. And then Texas A&M's best win is Florida. So I don't want to hear this whole, and that's like all, like I'm looking at their schedule, no other like ranked teams on there too. Well, I don't want to hear this whole thing about like, oh, Ohio State's schedule is crappy and this and that. Well, a couple of things. One, everybody has like one good win in their schedule, and that's it. And two, you can't really take opponent records all that serious this year because nobody has like out of conference games. Right. So you're just playing each other, which is pretty much going to come to pretty much close to 500 in record. So this whole thing about, oh, your opponent record is this and that. You can't base that this year.
2020 is impossible. It just is. Now, the playoff committee is super duper hoping for a bailout. And that bailout is Ohio State wins the Big Ten, Notre Dame or Clemson win. Actually, what would they prefer? Neither here nor there. Distracting from my point. They want to put in the SEC champion, the ACC champion, and the Big Ten champion. So if Ohio State makes their way into the Big Ten playoff, or excuse me, into the Big Ten championship game, which by the way, I'm feeling like they will. Mm-hmm. Just saying right now, I feel like it's probably going to happen. I know the math is bad, but I also know that Fox pays a lot of bills at the Big Ten, and Fox does not want Indiana without Penix playing Northwestern. So just keep an eye on Fox, and keep an eye if the Big Ten is going to move ahead with their championship game without Ohio State. Just maybe if Penix hadn't gotten injured, maybe if Penix was still playing, but you know what? He's not.
Maybe.
Point is that I feel like Ohio State's going to go to that Big Ten championship game. I have a good feeling, and I feel like they're going to win it. I have a good feeling. So that slots 3 of your teams right away. And that's what the Big Ten, that's what the College Football Playoff Committee wants. Just immediately 1, 2, 3. There's your 3 teams. Awesome. Now, what they probably really, really want, now that I've had a chance to think about it, is Clemson to win a close game against Notre Dame. And then at that point, you could just say, slot Ohio State up to number 3, partially because they're conference champion, but also partially because you don't want Notre Dame and Clemson playing for a third time. So now you're getting Clemson versus Bama, Ohio State versus Notre Dame, which is a game I think Ohio State can win. And then we'll see.
Yep. We'll see.
Clemson and Bama are both nasty, nasty football teams. And there's going to be a lot of points scored. It's just going to be a shootout, and we'll see.
One more news before we get into the SlooPicks here. It is of note because of who Ohio State plays next weekend or the following weekend. The Michigan and Maryland game for this weekend has been canceled.
Yeah.
So a lot of talk going around about, will Michigan cancel next weekend as well? Maybe.
We just don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, at this time last week, this is how fast this stuff develops. At this exact time last week, we didn't even know there was a problem at Ohio State, let alone that the game was going to get canceled.
Yeah.
Kyle and I figured that out about 50 minutes into the podcast, and you can tell that we figured that out because we forgot to actually pick the game last week. We forgot to do our score predictions. We forgot, because we saw the Nevada Nugget go up on Buckeye Scoop and kind of had a bit of a panic and just sort of lost control of the podcast. But real quick, one more college football playoff thing, and then we can move on to the SlooPicks, Kyle. Texas A&M plays Auburn this weekend. And just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into the SlooPicks, it's my personal belief that the Texas A&M problem is going to be solved.
Ooh.
And then you have Florida. Florida ends up playing Bama in the SEC championship game. While I think Florida's very good and can score with Bama, and I think it's going to be a really good game, and I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. The depth of talent at Bama is just overwhelming, and I don't think Florida can pull that off. So those two problems solved themselves. Georgia has 2 losses, got embarrassed in both of them, have no business at number 8, and is not going to make the playoffs this year. You still have Cincinnati sitting there at 7, and as much as we all want that, I really just don't see it.
They need a lot of chaos.
Basically, Texas A&M needs to lose for Cincinnati to make it. Let's do path to the playoff for Cincinnati. Texas A&M has to lose to Auburn this week.
Yep.
Actually, does Texas A&M, how many games they have left after that? Maybe they can lose a different game. But let's just stick to this week. Auburn has to lose, Auburn has to win over Texas A&M. You need Bama to not just beat, but destroy Florida in the SEC championship game. Just like, not even necessarily destroy, but it can't be close. Let's look at like 2 scores.
Okay.
A 2-score victory, Bama over Florida, just to make sure Florida doesn't end up in the playoff. Then we need Notre Dame to destroy Clemson, or potentially the other way around. If that game's lopsided, the loser might end up out. Because you realistically, and they should, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Clemson's getting a Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing pass right now. And you know what? I am honestly fine with that. They didn't have their best player, and they went into triple overtime against the number 2 team in the country. You want to give them a pass for not having Trevor Lawrence in 2020 because he tested positive? That's fine. I have no issue with that. So I think really what you need there is just one of the teams to win lopsidedly, which would eliminate the other one. So at that point, you have Bama, ACC champion, Ohio State, Texas A&M out of the picture, Florida's out of the picture. They're not going to put Iowa State in. They're not going to put Georgia in. They're not going to put Miami in. I think at that point, the path is clear for Cincinnati.
Yep. The other way around is Ohio State fans don't want to hear Ohio State loses.
Whoa, hey, we aren't talking about that, Kyle.
I know.
We aren't talking about that.
But we're moving on.
Let me one more real quick. Oklahoma sitting there at number 11. Do they have a chance in hell?
No.
Okay.
How many losses do they have?
It's 2, right?
It's 2.
Yeah. I know.
It's 2.
I know. Don't lose twice, but also 2020. Like 2020 is the exception to many, many rules.
No. Sorry, Jared. All right.
You lay out, I'm just saying, you lay out all that chaos. If Oklahoma wins the Big 12, you lay out all that other chaos that I laid out for Cincinnati to get in, and the committee then has to choose between like 2-loss non-champion Georgia, 2-loss conference champion Oklahoma, undefeated conference champion Cincinnati, but it's the American Conference. Maybe they're in the conversation. I don't know if I'm not saying it's a good chance. Oklahoma might be sitting at like a 1% chance, but all I'm saying is that it's not 0.
All right.
I
have nothing else to say.
It's time to move on anyway.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our SlooPicks, Jared.
All right, let's do the SlooPicks. Let's see. First off, we were talking about Texas A&M. Let's keep talking about Texas A&M as they travel to Auburn. Texas A&M is favored by 6.5. Who do you have, Kyle?
I think Texas A&M wins this, but it's going to be really close. 6.5. I'll take Auburn to cover there. I think Texas A&M still will win it, but I'll take Auburn to cover.
To me, this should have been like a 2.5 game. I think this should have been Texas A&M like 2.5, because I think the game ends up being that close. And I think to me, it's kind of a 50-50 shot. Not for like who wins. I think it's a 50-50 shot for who wins. I think Auburn's a lot better now than they were at the beginning of the year. And I don't think Texas A&M has faced a legitimate challenge that they've won against. So give me Auburn. And I also feel like the number is a bit inflated right now because Auburn just got gobsmacked against Alabama. So people are real low on Auburn right now. But yeah, I don't care. I like Auburn to potentially probably win this game.
All right. Next up here, Jared. Penn State.
Yes.
Heading on over to Rutgers.
Now you might be asking yourself, Jared, why did you put a 1-5 team against a 2-4 team in the picks? 1, a lack of better options. 2, it's funny.
Let's see. Penn State is a 10.5 point favorite, Jared.
Yeah, which is too rich. Too
it
rich
is.
For my blood. I do think Penn State wins this game, but I also think Rutgers has a real legit chance of winning the game. To me, I think this game should have been about 6.5. That's my personal take on this game. Maybe a 7.5, maybe a 6.5 game is about where I would have put it. At 10.5, yeah, I'm going to take Rutgers.
Give me the Scarlet Knights to cover here. They'll make this really close. All right, next up, Jared, we have West Virginia taking on the Cyclones.
Speaking of teams that may not be out of the playoffs, maybe a better chance than Oklahoma even is Iowa State.
I'll take the Cyclones to cover here, but no, they're not in it.
I'm just saying it's not 0. I'm not saying
it's that less than 1%.
Okay. I was just reading your sign language there, and it was funny to me.
I said 1. I don't know which way.
Your camera's not inversed, is it? My camera's inversed. That's why I always have such problems.
Gotcha.
And why all of my writing is backwards.
Yeah, I'll take Iowa State to cover. Who you got?
I agree. I don't like West Virginia nearly as much as the 5-3 record would indicate. And I don't know. I think 7.5 is a good number. Like, I've kind of crapped on a couple of the numbers in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Recently, I do think this is a good number. I'd be much, much happier picking Iowa State at 6.5 as opposed to the 7.5, that dreaded 6 versus 7 difference that we talk about sometimes. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with Iowa State, even with that extra point.
Speaking of that dreadful number, the next one up to, 2 up from that, 14.5.
14.5.
More than 2 touchdowns. That is what Wisconsin is favored by against a Penix-less Indiana team.
Nope. Not going to do it. Not going to make the joke. Not going to not going to reference the bald guy from Game of Thrones. Not going to do it.
I'll take Wisconsin here because all Indiana was on this offense was Penix. That's what this Indiana team is, and I just don't see them being able to stay up with Wisconsin here.
Wisconsin only has 3 games under their belt, so I'm real uncomfortable picking Wisconsin. Anything with Wisconsin. They don't Ramsey up and left. He's Northwestern now, is that right? So we don't even have a decent backup in Indiana. I don't know what to do with this game because the dynamic in Indiana has completely changed without Penix. Mm-hmm. And I've seen Wisconsin look great and I've seen Wisconsin look terrible. And I just don't know which Wisconsin's going to show up. I'm I'm gonna go Indiana here, but I've honestly changed that pick like 5 times because I just don't know. And ultimately it's like, well, if I don't know, if I really just don't know what's happening, give me the team that's plus 14.5. Just get one of the teams a big underdog, and I don't feel like I have a good grip. Like if we are betting actual money, my bet here would be not to bet. Like just don't touch this game. But for the sake of the SlooPicks, we are picking it. So give me Indiana just because with all the question marks, I'm going to take the 14.5 point underdog.
All right. Next up here, we have Oregon, who just coming off their loss to in-state rival Oregon State, taking on California. UCal. Let's see. Oregon is a 9.5 point favorite. I think Oregon's still just a much better team, even though they lost to Oregon State, who they shouldn't have really lose to.
Yeah.
I'll take Oregon to cover here. I'm comfortable with 9.5.
Yeah. 9.5 is better than 10. That's.
Yep.
I mean, aside from being an obvious statement, which it obviously is, it's, you know, you're staying under that touchdown and a field goal, which is significant. It's, again, like with Wisconsin, we only have 3 California Bear games. We only have 4 Oregon Duck games. And I'll be honest with you, I've not watched 1 bleeding second of the California Bears. Golden Bears. So I really don't know here. I do think that Oregon will probably be pretty eager to prove that they aren't who they were last week. And I'm also pretty sure that Cal is very bad at football. So with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and pick Oregon.
All right, last game here. We have Clemson taking on Virginia Tech. This is our night game. Clemson is a 22.5 point favorite. What do you got here, Jared?
It's a big number, obviously. It's a big number against a quality team. Not to say that Virginia Tech is great, but they, you know, it's not the Citadel. Still, it's a big number against a quality team. Shots fired. So I just going to go Clemson because the last time I saw Clemson, they obliterated Pitt. Now, that being said, they pulled a bit of an Ohio State. They went out to a huge lead and then pulled off the gas way too soon. They didn't cover last week, did they, Kyle?
Oh yeah, they did.
Did they? Oh yeah, they added some points on late after I stopped paying attention. They ended that game 57-17. That being said, Clemson's also playing very poorly against the spread this year. They're only 3-6 against the spread, but then again, so is Virginia Tech. So don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I got Clemson to cover here just because, just like Ohio State and a lot of the other teams close trying to get that 3-4 spot right now, you got to look good. You got to impress the committee right now. And I think Clemson's going to try to not let off the gas here and will just try to just steamroll anybody else that's on their schedule here. So I'll take Clemson to cover as well.
Yeah, we are officially in a scenario now in which the playoff committee said that style points matter. They didn't use that exact phrase, but they kind of said it. So we are in that frame of mind now. And for that reason, yes, I think I'll also go with Clemson.
All right, cool.
All right, Kyle.
We have one more pick, but before we do that, Jared, let's hear from our sponsors before we get into...
Absolutely. You going first? Am I going first?
Sure. The Mad Canadian. I mentioned at the top of the show, but I'll mention it again here. The Mad Canadian. With
out of stock.
Overwhelming support for the holidays here is out of stock. Thanks to everybody listening.
Good job, Sloop Cats.
Yes. He is working to restock and hopefully His goal is to get his website up and running to take orders by the middle of next week. Can't guarantee it, but that's his goal, though. Be sure to check back probably next Wednesday, Thursday, hopefully, to check to see if he has things back in stock. And if he does,
check his social media pages.
Yes, his social media pages on Twitter, on Facebook. He'll have up to the day status on when to expect the next shipment to come in and when he's going to be ready to take orders then. And when he is ready, make sure you use that promo code SloopCast10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order.
Hey, Kyle, do you think I could sell these on eBay like it's a PlayStation 4 since they're now officially rare items?
Ooh. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Mad Canadian would say. I wonder what nasty email he's sending you right now about it.
Oh, I'll hear about it on Friday. I know
it. All right. One last thing from the Mad Canadian. He says Wednesday night, he'll have his food truck parked outside Cary Brewing Station in Cary, Ohio, between 4 and 9 p.m. Again, that is Wednesday night. Again, just check out his social medias for any further update. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered.
This episode of the SlooPicks is also brought to you by Iron Bean Coffee. Kyle, I'm holding up a bag of Iron Bean Coffee right now against my head. Because I know that some people go and they look at the website and there might be a tad bit of sticker shock because it's not Folgers. It's a handcrafted, roasted. But I just want you to know that it's a very, very big bag. I hold it against my face for scale. See that skull on the front of the packaging? It's basically the size of my skull. That's almost a Jared size head.
Yes. Minus the beard.
Sorry. Yes.
Minus the beard.
Yes. Sorry, audio listeners. I know that wasn't great for you guys. Point is that, yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but you know what? You're getting a lot of coffee with it because their pound of coffee is actually, get this, Kyle, a pound of coffee. Amazingly. All of their stuff is micro roasted. You do the brewing. It's all fresh roasted. They don't have a big stock of roasted beans. That's maybe why our good friend over at Iron Bean Coffee Company, his head's a bit on fire right now from a little bit of Christmas supply stress. But he's figuring it out, and he's going to get his coffee out to you. Don't worry about that. It's a small operation. It's all handcrafted, hand roasted, all of that. Know that you're supporting a literal mom and pop shop, and know that you're supporting an Ohio company. They're based out of Perrysburg, which is near Toledo, and that you're supporting a veteran owned company. The owner of the Iron Bean Coffee Company is a former Marine. Is former Marine the correct way of saying that? I know they like to say once Marine, always former active Marine. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure the correct way to say that. So whatever the correct way to say it, that's what I said, because no disrespect is intended. So you can, of course, browse an amazing selection of coffees. There's flavored coffees. There's also tons of not flavored coffees, medium roast and dark roast. And there's at least one light or two or so light roast. So you can go browse an amazing selection of coffee. Some of their more popular items are available in K-Cup. And if you want to get a gift for someone, but you don't know specifically what type of coffee they like, or you want them to maybe pick it out on their own just because they're a bit snobby like that, there are gift cards available as well. So go ahead and check out all of that at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. All right, Kyle, we have one more game left on the schedule.
We do. It is Ohio State versus Sparty.
Yes, sir.
This is a nooner. This is a noon kickoff, Jared. I'm just looking. I just want to double check. Yep, this is on ABC. Is this the first time that Ohio State's been on ABC all year?
No. Wasn't the Penn State game?
You're right. Yes. This is the first nooner game that's been on ABC.
Yes.
Yes. Noon game in Spartan Stadium. Yes. Michigan State is 2-3.
Kyle, this is not your best intro.
It's not. I apologize. Michigan State is 2-3 coming into this game as a 23.5 point underdog.
Kyle, did you say Sparty?
I did.
Did you say ABC?
Yes, sir.
Did you say Nooner?
Yes.
Did you say Spartan Stadium?
Might have.
Did you say underdog?
Yes.
So what does all of that mean?
Oh, no. What is it?
Well, that just means it is time to know your enemy.
Mixing it up there.
I wasn't expecting you to do that.
Sorry.
It's all right. Only the YouTube people will get that. I'll cut the rest of this part out while we put the music in. Sorry, YouTube people. You get the good with the bad and the bad with the good.
Sorry.
It's all good. Know your enemy. The Michigan State Spartans. Kyle?
Spartan smash?
Sure. You've thrown me twice in the past 30 seconds.
Well, let's get to know Michigan State.
Do we have to?
Maybe. I don't know.
Guys,
so Michigan State,
Michigan State is a bad football team.
Very bad. They come into this game averaging 331 yards per game, averaging 18 points per game. 18.
Yeah.
They are letting up 31 points per game on average. They are averaging 98 yards on the ground. This is Michigan State. They're known to run it, just hold on to the ball as long as they can, almost trestle-like, run it down your throat. They're averaging 98 yards.
Well,
98.
Kyle, when you have a quarterback as good as Rocky Lombardi, you got to air it out, man.
Not when he's not when he's thrown 8 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
Oh, but look his completion percentage. It's outrageous.
Like 52%?
Yeah, that's terrible. Outrageous does not mean good necessarily.
You know what? A number that's even more outrageous, Jared?
Sure. All right.
They're running backs.
I mean, I do know, but for the sake of the entertainment of the podcast, I'm going to pretend like I don't. What else is outrageous, Kyle?
There are 3 main running backs. Have a grand total of 132 rushes for 395 total.
Eek.
Averaging 2.99 yards per carry. And the topping on top of that, Jared?
Yeah.
A big old zilch in the red zone. This Spartan team only has 1 rushing touchdown all year, and that's from a wide receiver.
Allegedly a wide receiver.
Allegedly.
It says wide receiver. I didn't watch the game that happened in.
It was against Iowa, where that was the only touchdown.
Yeah. And that the game was well over by then, like super duper over by then. So I didn't see it, but allegedly this wide receiver's number is 97. Have you ever known a wide receiver to have number 97? Apologies to Tyler Hunt. I don't know anything about him. I don't think a wide receiver is supposed to wear number 97. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Kyle, say something nice about Michigan State.
Come
on. You got to have something.
They have a really good defensive back.
Yep.
Shakir Brown.
Yep.
He
absolutely.
has 5 interceptions for the year. All 5 interceptions for the team.
See, that started off really nice, but I feel like, Shakir Brown, he has 5 interceptions this year. Oh, I'll say it. Okay, You're saying something nice. That's the team's entire interception total for the year. That's a little bit of a backhanded. Like, I feel like in your attempt to say something nice about Shakir Brown, you kind of did a backhanded compliment to the rest of the team. So that one doesn't count, Kyle. I'm revoking that one. Say something else nice about Sparty.
Come
on.
They didn't lose to Michigan?
Okay. All right. There we go. All right.
They beat Northwestern last weekend.
Yeah. Everyone at home, raise your hand if you watched that football game. And now tell me, if you did, tell me with a straight face that it's because Michigan State played well. Because they didn't. Northwestern looked like... Listen, a team like Northwestern is not used to being the 8th team in the country and the front runner and potentially the favorite to win the conference. That's not pressure Northwestern is used to living up to, and they crumbled under it.
Hey, Jared.
Yeah.
I figure out our Tyler Hunt.
Okay, Tyler Hunt.
Look at the depth chart here.
No.
On the right side.
No,
look,
I don't.
Look.
I don't want
Look
to.
under special teams.
Okay.
Look at the holder.
I see a holder is not a wide receiver.
When I looked him up, it said his role was wide receiver. Yet on the depth chart, it says he's the holder.
Holder's not even a real position. The punter does that. Does this guy have a scholarship for just holding the ball?
He has the team's only rushing touchdown.
He's not a wide receiver. I get, so his position isn't holder, right? He has to have an actual position. He plays holder for the team. He's got to be like a tight end or something, right? Who the hell is Tyler Hunt? Kyle, we need to go on a search to find out who Tyler Hunt is.
Tyler
An exploration. A hunt, if you will. All right, let's see. I'm going to say something nice. Antoine Simmons, linebacker, is a very good player. 53 tackles on the year, 6.5 tackles for loss, has a sack and a forced fumble. He's, this many games in, those 5 games in, those are good numbers. Over 10 tackles a game, like I said, 6.5 tackles for loss. He's a very good player. I think he's not as good statistically as he actually is, I think is what I'm attempting to say right now. He's better than the statistics show. And a lot of times that happens when you're a defensive player on quite frankly, a bad football team.
Mm-hmm.
This team has given up 38 points to Rutgers. This team has allowed Michigan to score 24 points, which doesn't seem egregious, but Iowa stomped them. Final score for Iowa on that one was 49 points. And Northwestern, Northwestern wasn't in the position they were in because their offense was good. But they do hold Northwestern to 20 points. So that's commendable.
Mm-hmm.
They also held Indiana to 24 points, which might sound impressive until you realize that Indiana shut them out. So, grain of salt. Take that with.
Yes. Another guy to, let's see, anything else good about Michigan State here? They have
Drew
a good
Beasley.
linebacker. They have a good linebacker in Simmons.
Yep.
He leads the team in tackles.
I did that already while you were on your Tyler Hunt.
I'm just going down the list here of what we have here.
Drew Beasley.
Defensive end, Beasley, good as well.
Good pass rusher. Good pass rusher.
Yep. And got to keep an eye out for their safety, Xavier Henderson as well, too.
Yeah.
Are probably the highlights of this defensive front. Or just defense in general.
Yeah. I knew what you meant. Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. It's a bad football team. Now that being said, they're playing better than I expected them to.
Especially in that middle of the season here where they scored 7 points to Iowa. They put a big old 0 against Indiana.
Yeah.
And then they had the game against Maryland that was canceled. And then we're all thinking here, Northwestern should be able to win this game, and surprised us all here.
Yeah.
It really did surprise us because we joked on here on Monday's episode that Sparty ruined a week's worth of discussion for all the news out, all the sports media out there talking about Northwestern potentially getting the pick for the college playoff. If Ohio State didn't make the Big Ten conference game or conference championship game, but Michigan State ruined that for all these people out there.
If the Big Ten, if Ohio State needs the exception to get into the conference championship game, so let's say if that, and then if they get that exception, and if it's because Fox pressured the Big Ten to do it so that there was a competent championship game for them to put on their airwaves, does the fact that Northwestern now has no chance of being undefeated and has no playoff implications, did Sparty beating Northwestern via smoky back rooms at the Big Ten studio Fox network aid Ohio State into getting into the Big Ten championship game? I'll hang up and listen. Tinfoil hat.
Thank you, Sparty.
Apollo, look at me, buddy. Come here. Can you go get my tinfoil hat? Come here. Can you go get my tinfoil hat? I haven't taught him that one yet.
Should we be thanking Sparty?
Maybe, good sir. Maybe.
All right. And anything you want to talk about this Spartan team? There honestly, I just don't really see how this Michigan State team can really keep up now. The question is going to be, can they cover 23.5 points?
That's a lot.
It is a lot, especially with Ohio State not having to play for a while now.
But what did you just say about the Clemson game?
They got to look good. They have to look good here. So they've got to come out on fire. They didn't play last week, and that second half against the Indiana team looked bad, both sides of the ball. So it's been a while since we've seen a good Ohio State team play. Now,
well, but we said the same thing about Clemson last week. We haven't seen Trevor Lawrence play in a month. We haven't seen Clemson play in 2 weeks. And then
I voted saying that they were going to cover. I thought they were going.
I think I did too. But the point is that we had all of those same questions about Clemson, and then Clemson turned out to be just fine. So that is helping relieve my fears of picking Ohio State to not just win, but to cover in this game.
You picked Pitt.
So what if I did?
You picked Pitt.
So what if I did?
I'm still beating you. This is the last week here.
No, it's not.
According to what I have here, it is.
It's not.
Okay.
We don't even. What do you mean it's the last week? Ohio State has 2 more games left, Kyle.
According to our pick'ems here,
potentially,
there is no week 15.
Maybe they just haven't added it yet.
Maybe they didn't.
It's CBS. They suck. We're only on there because it's free.
I'm still beating you.
Fair enough.
All right, let's get into
some. So whenever we see a team lose that wasn't supposed to lose, what's always the telling stat? Almost always. In an upset, what happens? What's the first thing you look for in the box score when a team gets upset?
Turnovers.
Northwestern lost the turnover battle 4-1 against Michigan State last week.
Not going to win many games doing that.
No, sir, you're not. Especially if you're Northwestern and your margin is not very big.
No.
All right, Kyle. Now, all of
SlooPicks questions, Jared?
Let's do some Ask SlooPicks. Well, I think we should probably pick the game first. By the way, we had a guest picker lined up for this week, and they did not respond. So that's life as a podcaster sometimes.
All right, 23.5, Jared. Do you have Ohio State covering, or do you think Spartans won't make it as big of a
I have Ohio State. So one of the things we've avoided talking about to this point is who for Ohio State's actually going to play. And Kyle and I have avoided talking about that for reasons. But sometimes you know things and you don't say them, but because you don't actually know them, it's just stuff you hear and so on and so forth. But ultimately, what I do know and am willing to say is that the quarterback for Ohio State will be Justin Fields. So if anyone's out there worried about that, you don't have to be. And I also know that the quarterback for Michigan State will be Rocky Lombardi. So with those two facts, because there's a lot of players who you're going to find out aren't playing at the last second. A lot of them. So just know that we know who the quarterbacks are. And with that information in my pocket, I'm going to go ahead and pick Ohio State to win and cover. And with a final score of 35-10.
Ooh. That was really close to me, Jared. Very close.
Yeah.
I also have Sparty 10.
Okay.
But Ohio State 42.
You gave him an extra touchdown.
I did. Yep. Like I said, close.
Yeah,
close. All right.
And both of those are covers for the record.
Yes.
All right, Kyle, I had Auburn, Rutgers, Iowa State, Indiana, Oregon, Clemson, Ohio State.
And I had Auburn, Rutgers, Iowa State, Wisconsin, Oregon, Clemson, and Ohio State.
So we only have one difference.
Well, you better make that one count then.
I have Windiana.
All right, let's get into some questions here.
Yes, let's do that.
From Buckeye Jared.
Which is
Jared.
not me. I will say this, though. There are many ways to spell Jared. And Buckeye Jared spells it the correct way. There's many ways to do it. There's only one way that's correct.
All right.
And Buckeye Jared does it right.
This is a good question here.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Which quarterback would win in a 40-yard dash? Pryor, Miller, or Fields?
40-yard dash. So, cone drill, Braxton Miller. Because if we're talking agility, if we're talking like a 10-yard, if we're talking a 10-yard dash, Braxton Miller all day. All of that is Braxton Miller. All day,
yes.
You get it out to a 40-yard dash, and it becomes a little bit more of a competition. Pryor was a long strider. He didn't have Braxton Miller's agility, but he had a really fast, long stride.
I think the 40-yard, it's going to be a lot closer with Miller and Fields. If it's like a 100-meter run, it could really be any three of those, just kind of like what you said. Pryor just had that lengthy stride.
Real quick, it's 100-meter. What is that roughly equivalent in yards, track boy?
It's because we're talking more than a football. It's more than a football length.
Okay, because we're talking about a 40-yard dash. That's the question.
Yeah, 40-yard dash. So almost half of a football field there.
Yeah,
I'd probably still go with my boy back here, still Miller, but Fields is very close right there.
It would be Fields or it would be Miller. I'm leaning Miller. Could be Fields. Pryor. I would, the longer, as Kyle was saying with the 100-yard dash, the longer you make that race, I think the more ground Pryor could make up.
It just kind of like Usain Bolt, like that first 15 meters, it's really close with the rest of the world. But then you stretch that out to the whole 100 meters, and you see that that's
another long strider
length. Yes.
That's another long strider.
Lengthy runner there, just being able just to separate himself.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from our geographically challenged friend, Michigan Bucknut. Do you think,
just for the record, we both went Miller, Fields, then Pryor?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Yep. Michigan Bucknut asks us, do you think we'll have any signing day surprises? And when I say surprises, I mean good surprises.
All right, we're going to limit that to good surprises. And by the way, I have no reason to believe there are any bad surprises coming either. I mentioned last week Raekwon Davis, who's currently committed to LSU, is a guy who I still have an eye on despite the fact he's committed to LSU. Now, Now, that being said, if I can predict it, is it a surprise? Is it really a surprise?
If he is soft verbal right now, I would say that is a surprise.
Okay, so if it's a flip, it counts as a surprise. Is the rules you're giving me right now?
Yep.
I'll go with Davis.
All right.
Out of Mater Dei High School, linebacker currently committed to LSU. I think it's Raekwon. I didn't prepare for this. I don't have the notes in front of me. So this isn't just me mispronouncing it. This is also me not seeing it and not fully remembering. Just for the record, this is not a full classic Sloopcast moment.
All right. One other question from Michigan Bucknut.
Nope, that's the same one.
That's the same one. I apologize.
Yeah, pasted it twice, Kyle.
Dang. All right. Going through our list here in our Discord, and you can be part of our Discord by going to discord.thesloopcast.com.
Yeah, if you're souring on social media, but you still want to have like a fun, casual place that feels like just a chat room more than, say, a message board or more than social media, just kind of feels like a fun hangout, come join our Discord channel. It's a lot of fun. We have everything ranging from Ohio State football to other Ohio State sports to conversation about beer and a channel dedicated strictly to dog and children and cat pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And one of our new followers here, Woody G561 in our Discord.
Official Sloop Cat.
Yes. With no actual backing, what is your gut percentage of a game happening this weekend?
Right now, I have no reason to believe the game won't happen this weekend. Ohio State has practiced Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. These are the facts on the table.
So I'm going to give this a 90-10 right now. That 10% being more on Sparty's end. Because I know things in Michigan in the state of Michigan are not doing that well right now in terms of, well, really the rest of the country too. But
yeah, but
really
Franklin County's especially bad.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say 90-10 in favor of Ohio State playing right now, but I'm giving that 10% just for the unknown that we haven't really paid that much attention to.
And
over in East Lansing.
And as I said at the beginning of this episode, I said this on the actual audio part, right, Kyle? This wasn't during the private YouTube moment. Mm-hmm. At this point, when we were recording last week, we're almost an hour into this episode. At this point, we were just finding out that there might be problems at Ohio State. That's where we were in last week's timeline.
And I am refreshing as we're doing this. I am refreshing, and the only thing that I see here, I'm not going to say, but we kind of hinted at the beginning of this episode about Ohio State and the conference championship game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything more than that.
I've already,
because that's behind paywall. So.
I've already said it, Kyle. It's fine.
I know. We're moving on.
So good.
Yes. Good.
I will say that I have no reason at this time to believe the game won't happen.
Yep.
But
one more question.
These things move quickly. I have to put the caveat on it. These things move quickly.
Yep. One more question from Woody G. If we do have a game, will Justin Fields have a bounce back game or another be shaky performance? And if we don't, will that make him come back for another season?
There's
the second part, 0. There is a 0-0 chance Fields is coming back next year.
0.1.
0. Less than 1.
Less than 1. Less than 1.
The first part there, we discussed this before too. Like he had 3 interceptions. That's not a good game. But he's still, like, yardage wise, touchdown wise, is still a good game, like a really good game. And that was his worst game as a Buckeye.
Yeah.
I think he'll come back. I think he'll definitely come back. And we even talked about like how good of a team Indiana was. We talked about that Penix was really good. He had some good players on the offense. Defensively, they've stepped up and made plays too. They blitzed a lot and caused turnovers, which they did against Ohio State.
I was about to say, go back and listen to that Indiana preview. We kind of nailed it. We told you that Indiana's defense gives up yards and gives up points, but they're very good at blitzing, creating pressure, and creating turnovers.
The only thing we didn't nail was that they would cover.
My final score, no, I picked Indiana. My final score prediction was not far off. I'm sure about.
All right. Let's see. Rockosaurus on our Discord. What impact will Ryan Day not on the sidelines have on Ohio State?
Do we have confirmation?
This is one thing we didn't even discuss too. Ryan Day won't be on the sideline.
Do we know that?
Yeah. Ryan Day will not be on the sideline there. If they are following that 10-day protocol, he will not be on the sideline there.
Okay. So confirmation of Ryan Day. I'm not worried about it. I said this the first time that we didn't expect Nick Saban to be on the sideline.
Yep.
And then he ended up being on the sideline that game, but then missing a different one later. But the number 1 and number 2 jobs, and by the way, Urban Meyer later came out and said the same thing I said, but he said it in a much better way because he's Urban Meyer and I'm an idiot. But the way Urban Meyer said it, because like I said, he said it better than me, is essentially the head coach of a major college football team. His first and second jobs are talent acquisition and culture building. Neither of those things happen on game day. Larry Johnson has been on the sidelines for many, many football games. Now he's been the head coach for 0 of those, but this is not a spring chicken. Kevin Wilson will run the offense, which he is fully capable of doing all by himself. He's a big boy. Larry Johnson can make all of those little game day decisions for timeouts and replay challenges and all that little when to punt, when not to punt. I don't mean to say little like it doesn't matter, because it does. But Larry Johnson did not play or did not call the defensive play calls. Someone else will do that. They'll be there on game day.
Mm-hmm. Now
he does not call the offensive game calls.
Now those guys will see some more running than passing.
Kevin Wilson's going to, I don't know this, but I kind of know it, which is just like, I feel very sure. Kevin Wilson's going to run the offense, period. Kevin Wilson's going to, the only input that I expect Larry Johnson to get in the offense is whether or not they'll go for it on 4th down.
One thing we're completely missing here, Jared. One thing we're completely missing here. If Kevin Wilson is in charge here
of the offense. Oh yeah. So much
tight ends.
So much tight end play. Ooh, I don't like that phrase.
All right, we're moving on here. Stewart _E4US vet. With not knowing who may be out, I'd like to talk about one specific backup, DeJuan Jones. If there is a missing lineman, is he the first off the bench? Also, which of his many nicknames is your favorite? Make sure you research his nicknames he gave him.
I don't have those. We don't research the Ask Sloopcast questions. That's policy. We don't do that. I don't know DeJuan Jones's nicknames, unfortunately. And we're running a bit long anyway. So we'll answer the first part. I would actually expect, depending upon who's out, potentially Paris Johnson Jr. as the first guy off the bench.
Yes.
They have been practicing him at right tackle, and he's been getting practice reps at guard. DeJuan Jones may be the first guy to come in at left tackle. Right tackle would be Paris Johnson Jr. If the center goes out, then they'll shuffle things, and then the backup will actually come in at the guard position. Because you'll just end up, bumping Harry Miller over. And then you'll have either Dwan Jones or Paris Johnson Jr. come in at one of the guard positions. I'm not 100% sure where they're at on who specifically, but I would venture that Paris Johnson Jr. has just as good of a chance as being the proverbial sixth man for the offensive line as Dwan Jones.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Brawley, will the national perception of this year's national championship either be A or B here? A, this team won a national championship in a year where nothing was normal, despite the odds, in the face of unprecedented challenges. Or B, the team won a national championship in a year where nothing was normal, teams were depleted, schedules were shortened. The only ones who had a shot were the top programs. How will you view the national championship?
Well, that just depends upon if I like them or not. Listen,
Yeah.
facts don't determine people's opinions. People shape the facts to fit their opinions that they already had. If you like the team, if that team is Ohio State, then we will talk about the historic 2020 team that defeated all the odds, who had their games canceled, who had their season shortened, and and they overcame it all and they won a national title and they're heroes. If Ohio State doesn't win the national title, man, we really would have had a shot if not for 2020. Darn.
It's just like the Lakers too, with the NBA championship game too. It's the same thing.
Whatever narrative you want to tell, you can use those sets of facts are accurate no matter what.
Yes.
If you hate the team, then you will tell story B. If you like the team, then you will tell story A. Actual facts don't matter here. We shape the facts to fit the opinion we already had because we're humans and we're stupid.
Mm-hmm. All right. One last question here, Jared. What does it say about a program when there is even the thought that you will cancel a game against your rival to not lose and keep your rival out of a championship game?
One, I don't anticipate Ohio State's going to lift out of the championship game.
No.
I'm just going to say that flatly. And I will also say that I'm not willing to levy that accusation against even Michigan. I'm not ready to do that.
Mm-hmm. What's there to say that?
And by the way, lots of people were basically looking at Maryland and being like, oh, Maryland just didn't want to play us. Maryland just didn't want to play us. Maryland just doesn't want to play us. Now, imagine the story we'd be telling if Maryland had a couple kids pop positive, then we played them, then Ohio State kids popped positive. We'd all be pissed at Maryland right now for, quote unquote, infecting us. Would we not? We would.
We would.
Now, the fact that we had a week in between where we played Indiana might throw that narrative off a little bit, but don't let facts get in the way of a good story. Point is that you have to trust that the doctors and not the coaches are making these decisions. And I don't know if that trust is well-founded or not, but I try not to wade into the water of conspiracy theory. All right, Kyle, one more thing, and then we can finish up. Stuart E4US Vet sent us the difficult names for the team. So Michigan State has some difficult names, and Stuart _E4US Vet has challenged us to pronounce them on the show. We still have not named this segment. It desperately needs one.
All right, first one. I'll take a shot at this. Charles Willikes.
I got the offensive lineman James Ohanobo. No. Ohanobo? Hanaba.
Ohanba.
I quit.
Humbug.
Don't make fun of his name because we can't say it. Never make fun of their name.
Jacob.
We're the
defensive
joke here.
end.
That's the joke is that we're the jokes. Yes. I want to be very clear. We're not making fun of these kids. We're not making fun of their names. The joke here is that we're bad at pronouncing names. Mm-hmm. We're the butt of the joke, just so we're very clear.
Yes. Defensive end, Jacob Panasiuk.
Sure. By the way, right. Spells Jacob with a U. I feel like that's worth noting, if nothing else.
All right.
Jeff Pietrowski.
Pie. Yes.
Pietrowski.
All right. Next up, defensive tackle Jacob with an O. Jacob Lafave.
I like Lafave. I like a long A there.
I like Lafave. Yep.
Yeah. Tight end Tommy Gigardo. Yeah. Gigardo.
I feel pretty confident about that one.
I'm glad you do.
Linebacker from Dublin. Let's see. It is Jess Lord. Boateng.
Jess Lord Boateng.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like that's right, but I also don't know how to correct you.
And by the way, Tyler Hunt.
Excuse
me, Tyler Hunt was a walk-on.
That's still not a position.
Backup punter, walk-on.
Backup punter, not a wide receiver. He is a punter.
He serves as the team's holder and also plays on kickoff returns.
Not wide receiver.
He is the team's backup specialist and place kicker.
Not wide receiver.
Yes.
I don't know where
on their website right here. I'm looking at
whose website?
Michigan State's right here. MSUspartans.com. Tyler Hunt, position WR.
Does that stand for? I got nothing. I was really hoping I was going to figure it out by the end of that sentence, and it didn't.
Nope. All right, that's it, Jared. That's today's episode.
All right, everyone, be sure to check out our Discord server. We officially announced our inactivity on Facebook as of today. Now it's been that case for a long time, but just in case anyone don't try and reach us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is nothing but auto post. We actually came out and said that this week. If it wasn't already painfully obvious, which I thought it was, but every once in a while people try and reach out to us on Facebook and we're just not there. So if you want to talk to us, but you don't like Twitter, and I don't blame you for not liking Twitter, by the way, join our Discord server. It's fun. It's private. It's a good time. It feels like a bit of a tailgate, I would say. It's a good time. So over here, we have our Patreon. You can visit our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. You get early access to episodes. We'll follow you on Twitter if you're on Twitter. We will, you get access to all the premium channels on the Discord. There's a few small handful of premium channels on this Discord. You get access to those. Lots of other stuff. There's a lot of cool features that you get for just $3. And you help us upgrade our equipment. Guys, we have big plans specifically for next year. In order to execute those plans, we need some more funds. And I know it's Christmas season and I know it's a pandemic. I get all of that. But maybe revisit us in February if that's something you can do. But again, it's $3 a month, and we have really big plans for season 7. But in order to execute those plans, we need some funds. So I'm not going to. Kyle, can I tease it?
No, let's just wait.
Okay, we'll wait. We have big plans for season 7, but we need funds for it. So help us out.
All right.
T-shirt stores. We have the 7071 t-shirt store, and we have the Buckeye Sloopcast merch store. You can find links to both of those stores by visiting thesloopcast.com. You can find links to all of our stuff at thesloopcast.com, including links to YouTube, our official YouTube page if you want to watch us and not just listen to us, or if you want to listen to us and not watch us. It also provides links to our Spotify page and our Apple Podcast page and all of those pages. All the links, anything about us you could possibly hope or want to need, including, by the way, links to our sponsors, you can visit thesloopcast.com. Kyle, that's all I feel like saying. Oh, follow us on Twitter for now.
Anything else?
No.
Anything else?
Nope. I'm good.
All right. I got two things. Got two things at the end of our show here. Our Columbus Crew, Sunday, 3 p.m. on ABC in Map-Free Stadium in Columbus. It is, as I knock my camera.
Okay.
The Columbus Crew takes on New England Revolution, 3 p.m. this Sunday. Be sure to support your Columbus Crew on ABC.
Point above your head for the YouTube people. Kyle.
Yes. As they make their way to the MLS Cup Championship. This is the conference championship game here. So
getting close.
Maybe we can get another one of these. Another one of these.
Kyle gestures towards his scarf. His championship scarf.
Crew championship scarf here. Yes. Can use another one to put on this side.
That's a good call.
One last thing here. Buckeye news for the Senior Bowl. Jonathan Cooper, Tuff Borland, and Trey Sermon have been invited to the Senior Bowl invitation.
Would they have to declare for the draft? Wow, Senior Bowl's weird this year because seniors aren't necessarily leaving because eligibility isn't being used. Mm-hmm. Are they even going to try and play the Senior Bowl this year? I have questions that we don't have answers to.
I don't know. Just
you know what?
That they've been invited.
I'm not going to ask questions I don't know answers to an hour 15 plus into the show. So we're just going to let all that go for right now. We might revisit it if we remember on Monday.
All right, that is it.
We won't remember. Tonight's ending music is by, for anyone at home paying attention, especially on the YouTube page. Of course, it's backwards because my camera's flipped. I should fix that, but everyone's used to me at this angle now, so I don't know if I should or not. Settle Your Scores. They're a pop punk band from the Queen City, from Cincinnati. So make sure to check these guys out. Again, I'm wearing their shirt, so you know I must like them. By the way, when live shows become a thing again, buy t-shirts. That to me is the equivalent of tipping the band. If you go to a show and you like the band, buy their t-shirt. That's tipping the band. You tip your waiter, tip the band. These local artists, they're not making a ton of money off of tickets. They're not making any money off of record sales. Buy their t-shirts. Buy the t-shirts at the show so that they don't have to pay for shipping, so that Bandcamp doesn't take a percentage, so that yada, yada, yada. Just go to the show, enjoy the show, buy a t-shirt. It's the best way to support a band. That's all I'm saying. So that's why my closet is filled to the brim with band t-shirts. I should start wearing them on the show a little bit more. So with all of that being said, please be sure to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Settle Your Scores. YouTube. Hey, YouTube. Like and subscribe and comment. I always forget to do that because we're bad YouTubers. We're podcasters who just post shit on YouTube more than we are YouTubers. So I always forget to smash that like button. Smash. We're bad at YouTube, Kyle.
We'll get better next time.
We want to be a lot better at YouTube in season 7.
Hint, hint. There's your hint, Jared. There's your tease. Hint.
That one's a lot vaguer than the one I was gonna do. That was a lot vaguer.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up here.
Yep, let's rejoin our audio listeners. Once again, would like to thank Settle Your Scores for ending today's show. Once again, I'd like to thank the Iron Bean Coffee Company for sponsoring today's show. I almost did your ad read, Kyle. I don't know why. By the way, if you do like the Mad Canadian, and he's out of stock, so you guys must like him. If you do like the Mad Canadian, if you've ever had the Coffee and Q, which is one of my favorites, did you know that the coffee that is in the Coffee and Cube is the cast iron, which is a roast from the Iron Bean Coffee Company? The cast iron is a medium roast coffee made with 100% single origin Honduran Arabica beans. They're all coming from the same farm. It's fair trade certified. It's organic. These guys don't mess around. These are beans with integrity. No play here. These beans are morally up and up. And by the way, they taste really, really good. Like I'm a coffee snob who's had a lot of really good. I mean, I live in Clintonville, for God's sakes, the snob central of Columbus. I've had good coffee. This is really, really, really good coffee. This is the best coffee I've ever had, and it's really damn good. So yeah, that's one of my favorites so far. Also on that list is the Ride or Die, which is the one I held up to my head during the first ad read. And I love all the packaging too. Like, maybe we don't talk about the packaging enough, but it's really a micro roaster with sort of the attitude of a micro brewer, which I think is part of the reason why I like them so much. It's less snooty small coffee place and more sort of badass micro beer place that just happens to make coffee instead. Hey, we're roasting hops, we're roasting beans, we're still roasting stuff. Am I right or am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can find the cast iron, and you can find a lot more coffees, including the Ride or Die, a bunch of other coffees, mostly unflavored coffees, but they do have some flavored coffees, including a carrot cake, a blueberry, and a mint chocolate chip, and the unicorn. And you never know what's in the unicorn. That's the fun of the unicorn. Find all of that and more at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster.
This episode was also brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. He may be out of seasonings right now, but he's going to be back. And be sure to check out his social medias when he'll let you know when his seasonings will be back in stock. And when you do, be sure to buy them all back out again.
Yeah. Guys, I don't know if the Mad Canadian wants me to say this or not, but let's make his December hell. The second he gets his stocks back in, crush him. With
Hey, Mad Canadian, I still need to order some spices.
Uh-oh.
I need to order some more.
Well, Kyle, you better keep an eye on that social media page.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I definitely will be. And for everybody, make sure you use the promo code SloopCast10, SloopCast10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order.
I ordered mine just in time because I bought the whole hog.
You bought the whole hog.
I bought the whole hog. It's my fault. I did it.
Good job, Jared.
Yeah.
And also, Wednesday night is where his food truck will be parking outside of the Cary Brewing Station in Cary, Ohio from 4 to 9 p.m. Again, check out all of his social medias, Facebook and Twitter, to find out more information about his stock, where his food truck is going to be. Just check that out. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered.
YouTube. What's up, YouTube? My face. Playlist. Listen to more episodes. Chuckle about how right or wrong we were about the things we said. Because you get the gift of hindsight. Over on Kyle's face is a subscribe. That's it's either going to be a subscription for the Buckeye Scoop or our podcast channel, depending upon where you're watching and or listening to this. I don't care where you listen. Listen on our channel, listen on the Scoop channel. It really means nothing to me. Do whatever you want, but please subscribe to both. There's lots of great content over. If you just watch us on our channel, there's so many great podcasts over on the Buckeye Scoop Radio Network and the YouTube channel. Go check out all of those, but also make sure to check out us first. All right, YouTube.
We'll catch you next time.
Peace.